Okay, have you ever opened up a spreadsheet or a database table and just stared at it? I mean, thousands of rows of data, and you're just thinking, where do I even begin? It's a super common feeling. Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most powerful tools in SQL for dealing with exactly that problem, the group by clause. Let's dive in. So, let's picture this. You've got a whole year's worth of expenses, right? And it's just this huge, messy list. A coffee here, a train ticket there, that weird online purchase you made at 2 a.m. It's all just jumbled together. The big question is, where is your money actually going? It's like a mystery, and Group By, well, that's the detective we're calling in to solve the case. So, here's our game plan for this little investigation. First, we're going to talk about what it even means to make sense of all this data. Then we'll start sorting that data into neat little piles, or groups. After that, we'll dig into those groups to see what secrets they're hiding. We'll even learn how to create subgroups for a deeper look. And finally, we'll see how Group By is used out there in the real world.
Okay, first things first. We keep saying grouping data, but what does that actually mean? Let's break this down before we get into the nitty-gritty.
So imagine you've got this giant, messy shoebox full of receipts from the past year. Group By is basically you sitting down and sorting them into neat little stacks. You make a pile for food, a pile for travel, another for utilities, and so on. In SQL terms, it finds all the rows that have the same value, like the category food, and it squishes them all down into one single summary row for that group. Simple as that. But why do we even do this? What's the point? Well, it's all about getting answers from that chaos. Instead of looking at thousands of individual sales, you can suddenly see the total sales for each product category. Or instead of seeing every single student's test score, you can calculate the average score for each subject. It's how we turn all that raw, noisy data into something that actually makes sense. Okay, so theory is one thing, but let's see how this thing actually works. It's time to roll up our sleeves and look at a real example. All right, here's our before picture, a simple table of expenses. See how the food and travel entries are all mixed in together? If you just glance at this, it's just a random list of numbers. Not very useful for figuring anything out, is it? And now, here's our first real clue, the query itself. It's super simple. All we're saying is, hey database, show me the category column from the expenses table, but I want you to group everything by that category. That's it. Let's see what it does. And boom, just like that, we have order from chaos. The database scanned through everything, found all the unique categories, and gave us this perfectly clean list. We've officially sorted our messy pile of receipts into 3 neat stacks: food, travel, and utilities. Okay, so we've got our groups. That's a huge first step. But the real magic of Group By happens when we start asking questions about what's inside each of those neat little piles. Let's check it out. Now, to actually analyze these groups, we need some tools. And in our SQL detective kit, these are called aggregate functions. You've got sum function, which is basically your calculator for adding everything up. You've got count function, which is like a clicker that just counts how many things are in each group. And AVG function, well, that finds the average. These are the tools that are going to give us some real answers. So let's level up our query a little bit. We're still grouping by category, but now we're adding something new. We're also asking the database to sum up the amount for each of those groups. See the difference? We're not just asking, what are the categories anymore? Now we're asking, okay, but how much did we spend in each one? And there it is, our answer clear as day. Right away, you can see we spent 50 on food, 65 on travel, and 75 on utilities. And just like that, case closed. We now know exactly where the money went. And this is why people love charts. The second we visualize that table as a simple bar chart, the insight just jumps out at you. You don't even have to read the numbers to see that utilities is the biggest chunk of our spending. This right here, this is what data analysis is all about. Taking something complicated and making it crystal clear. But wait, we've only scratched the surface. Sometimes solving one mystery just opens up a bunch of new questions. What if we need to get even more specific? Well, that's where we can start grouping by more than one column. The way this works is actually pretty straightforward. The database first groups everything by the first column you give it. Let's say that's product. Then, inside each of those product groups, it starts making smaller subgroups based on the second column, like region. So, a query for that might look something like this. We're asking for the total sales, But notice we're grouping by both product and region. So what we get back is a super detailed breakdown. Total sales for laptops in the north, then laptops in the south, then phones in the north, and so on. It gives you this incredibly granular view of your data.
So where do people actually use this stuff? Honestly, pretty much anywhere the data is being looked at.
Think about it. On a personal level, that budgeting app on your phone, it's almost certainly using Group By to give you that nice little summary of your spending. And in the business world, oh, it's everywhere. Companies use it for critical analytics, like figuring out the average salary for each department, counting the number of customers in each city, or finding out which products are flying off the shelves.
All right, let's do a quick recap of the big ideas here. First, Group By. Its job is to organize your data to group rows that have something in common. Then you have aggregations, like sum and count. Those are the tools you use to actually calculate stuff for each group. And finally, using multiple columns, that just lets you get even more specific by creating groups within groups.
So if there's one thing to take away, it's this. Group By is the key that lets you find the hidden patterns in your data. It's the tool you use to turn a whole lot of noise into actual useful information and to turn chaos into clarity.
Okay, now it's your turn to play detective. We've got a few challenges here to help you test out your new skills. For that medium one, give some thought to which aggregate function you'd use to count the number of orders. And for that tricky last one, remember what we said about grouping by 2 columns. Go ahead and pause here if you want to give these a shot. And that's a wrap on the SQL Group By clause. It's such a fundamental tool, and it really is the thing that takes you from just storing data to actually understanding it. So I guess the only question left is, now that you have this power, what hidden patterns are you going to uncover next?